Hey guys, Fusebox here, and we are back on Magnum Quest. So today I want to go over boss fights. They are a little bit different from Arena and a little bit different from the campaign, the trials. You'll have a different approach, but I definitely have some tips. It doesn't really matter what champions you have, as long as you're building out champions. We're going to talk about the compositions that'll get you the most out of them, at least everything that I've figured out so far. Definitely. Let's go into the guild boss. This will be one of the first bosses that you come up against is the Frost Peak challenge. So when you come in here, the first tip I have for you is absolutely crucial. You can try this multiple times before you accept if you've succeeded. So you're trying to get, as much hatred as you can. I'm not going to top the damage charts right now. I'm growing just like you, but I can do pretty good damage. And trying to up that damage, let me go ahead and I got to join the fight. So here, let's talk about the composition you want to bring. Let's just clear these out. First of all, you have a limited amount of time. I believe it's 2 minutes, 30 seconds. That's all you have to do as much damage as possible. You don't want to overload this team with support champions. You're going to want the minimal amount of support you can. If right now that is a straight up healer, then absolutely bring her on your team. Whatever it takes to make sure you stay alive. If you think you can do it with just a good support champion, that's another way to go. So we'll get into our support champion slot in just a minute. You obviously want damage. You're going to want to bring a couple of your best damage dealers. Without a question, you're going to want to bring some of those. And let's just go ahead and I'll bring a straight up healer for this fight. It should do fine. We won't waste our turn because I'm going to show you how to back out of here if you have to. All right, so you've got a couple of good damage dealers. They've got some sustain. I love damage dealers that have leech, but that's not what it's about. You should definitely be working on the goat girl. We've talked about her. Build up your goat girl. She does amazing damage. If you have Ares, that's great. If not, bring anybody else you want. My typical team, I like Harry. Where is Harry? This guy, it's not like any of these are necessary, but what Harry does, he buffs your team's haste. That is absolutely crucial. If you don't have Harry, maybe you have Fi. He can buff your entire team's haste as well. I really like Harry because he's pretty sustainable. He buffs your attack, your haste. He does a lot of work for you, so I usually will put him up in the front. So now you have just a few options on what you want to do next. We definitely have some damage dealers. We have hopefully enough support to do the entire team's support. So now you might want to bring in another damage dealer, and that's just going to depend on who you have. If you need more sustain, bring in another support champion by all means. We're going to try bringing in Fang. Is actually an amazing Fang, whatever. He's amazing at damage dealing. So I'm going to bring him in. And the order here is not going to matter too much. We're going to have our sturdiest members up front, but the key is as little support as you can get by with. And you'll find out if it's not enough, we'll just back out. We'll go again. So you can manual to get even more damage out of this, but we're going to auto it. You're going to probably want to auto it. So this team should start ramping up damage really fast. And what we're watching for is if we're going to have any problems with our sustain. This pause button here, if anything goes wrong and we need more support, we'll hit the pause button. We'll actually check that in a minute. So we've got 1 minute left. The key is to get that haste buff. You can watch down here on your characters. You see that when they're still under haste and get as much damage as possible as fast as possible. That's why you don't want to take up too many slots with support. It looks like everything's going good. We're doing pretty good. If you were not liking the outcome, and we will do it at least once to show you how you can adjust this team. But we're getting, whatever your bar is, trying to get to that. Like right now, I at least want to hit 11. And this is going pretty well. If I could just hit that 66, we're going to let this go. This is a pretty good hit. But let me just show you real quick. You hit pause if you're not liking the outcome. If you hit that try again, it takes you out. You didn't lose your turn, and you can adjust your team. If you needed more support or if you feel like you need less support, you can put in more damage. One thing I did on this team that's not ideal is I mixed up one person that really messed my affinity up. You can get more damage by matching your affinity, but if you're early game, you're only going to have so many options that are viable. I'm going to go ahead and let this finish through, but right here is where you can exit, alter your team, come back in. If somebody's dying, if things aren't going right, come back out, try a different support champ. We're going to go ahead and continue this because we have plenty of other boss fights that are fairly similar that we'll be able to show different team compositions. So this is over in 9 seconds, and we're doing good enough for where I'm at in the game on damage. Not bad. So we're not going to hit 12 hatred, but you know, not a bad hit. Not a bad hit. Got a bunch of loot. I've got a couple tough people in my guild. They're doing pretty good, so I don't think I'm going to be anywhere near the top. But now we can collect what we got, and the rest of the guild should attack. But that's a pretty solid hit. Now, let's go to some other bosses and look at, here's the thing. Most boss fights have the basic same principle, but some bosses do get a little bit out there. So let's go into the raids. This is where things get interesting. All right. Each one of these bosses have some very unique things that they do. So there are some things to talk about. We'll at least do one of each one. Once you complete it and get the gold trophy, you're going to go ahead and be able to just quick battle it. But down there, here's one good tip for you too. You want to see how people are beating this. You can look at the teams that have beat it lately and see who they used. And that might give you a good idea of what's going on. But let's just talk about how to build your own team, because you may not have the champions that they have. So this boss, what am I doing? All right, so if you've already beaten it and you want to practice and play around, you go to exercise down here. So we're gonna hit exercise so I can play it again. We'll skip the boss intro, but all right. So here's this boss likes to swallow up the person with the highest attack on your team. So Ares is gonna get swallowed up. Now I use the same team basically that I used on the guild boss is how I got through this, but we're going to switch it up. I'm going to try to keep a 3-2 split so that I get at least this full house bonus, I call it, of 15% attack and HP. But if you can't do that, don't worry about it. But look, the ingredients are the same. I've got a healer, little loot man, pathetic, easy to get silver champion, and he can do the job of keeping me alive. I've got my 2 main damage dealers. Again, whoever you're working on, that's who you're going to want to bring. I have another good damage dealer here, just as we talked about. And because I'm trying to keep my... I could bring in Harry, and he probably would do even better. But let's say you don't have Harry. What you can get out of this guy is more sustain. He puts up... Arthur here can put up shields. He can pull out some heals, so he kind of helps add some sustain since I'm really weak on healing in this faction. But it's the same basic principles. You could do a little bit more, and we'll look at it in a minute, by speeding up my team. But this team should be able to get through it. This is a good candidate for taking it off of auto, though, because what happens is right here, Ares is about to set off, but he's gonna, as soon as he gets set off, he gets swallowed up, and you usually waste that turn. I'm going to put it back on auto now that we've kind of dealt with that. But if you have a healer that only heals every once in a while on an ultimate, you're going to want to wait to heal until Ares is out of that worm's mouth, right? But this healer tends to just keep healing. This little loot man can do some work, all right? He's definitely food when it all comes down to it, but if you're wanting to build out a 3-star gold that you can get some use out of and then eat without worrying about it, Little Loot Man might be a good candidate. So there you go. No problem to it. Now you do have to beat this in a certain amount of time. You've got to break the shield and tens. They all have different rules, so you want to kind of pay attention to what you're doing. But getting through this boss is really all about bringing enough damage with just enough support to keep you alive, which is exactly what we did on pretty much every boss, to be honest. This one is pretty straightforward. There's really not a whole lot to worry about with this other than just getting through it. and it's the exact same mechanics. I will talk a little bit about the Frost Giant here because there's a little bit to at least acknowledge against him. So when he starts out, he's doing this move that you are going to be required to interrupt. And to interrupt it, you've got to get a certain amount of hits, which does change over time as you get further. It starts out at, I believe, 10. Binge drinking. You've got to get 10 attacks in during that 10 seconds, and it becomes more and more the further down you go. So you're going to definitely want fast heroes and probably a haste buff to get through this. Other than that, everything else stays the same. So let's go ahead and do an exercise on him. So this is definitely, so I've got minimum support, one hero that can bring the support I need. I've got pretty much the damage I need and a haste buff that also brings some attack up and stuff. So a good buffer that has haste in their buff skills. And then your 2 or 3 favorite damage dealers with 1 or 2 support champions. Now let's just talk about this fight. It is a little bit different. So right here, you've got to get in enough hits to break that shield before he's done binge drinking. Okay, we got through that. So we've met one criteria. Now we've pretty much just got to whittle him down. We've got Fang behind him doing a bunch of damage. Everybody's doing their job. But as soon as you defeat this health bar, he goes into warrior mode and he comes at you. He basically goes into a duel with a random hero on your team. Now, he can go south from right here. You never know who he's going to pick on. So if he picks on, like right now, I can't even tell. I think he went for Ares, which is great. Ares has sustain. He can stay alive. He might go after your support champion. It can get a little bit iffy there. But there we go. We beat him. No problem. And that's all you got to worry about is bringing enough speed, damage with as little support as you can get by with. I would gladly take out one of my damage dealers and put in another support champion if I could not get through it. That's really all there is to it. So these bosses, I'm not even far enough along to get into this one, but you can bet that other than a few things that boss does uniquely, that is the formula you want to use. So if I had to make a team completely from scratch to against one of these bosses, I keep hitting that does not involve my very best. Well, let's see. I could use him for haste, and we're gonna want support. Let me try to go a different route since we've been using the same heroes. I'm gonna bring her for a little bit of support, some buffing. So you should have a Sir. She's not built up strong or anything right now. I have haste from Phi. I am going to want damage dealers. Hopefully you are working on your Goat Girl. I'm telling you, Goat Girl is definitely important. So how do I keep a split here? I'm going to need either green or... It's hard not to bring the one main damage character that I'm working on. So I'm going to bring him, and then I'll show you another amazing champion for bosses. If you happen to have Cynthia, I believe it is, once her ultimate goes off, she actually shares her energy with other people. So it is even more beneficial than just adding haste. So we'll give this a shot. It's a sustainable. There's a lot less attackers on it. But I do believe that if Cynthia sets off, I hope we have enough support. We really didn't bring any straight up healer. But we have no problem with doing damage here. But Cynthia sets off, and then she's going to help everybody else fire off even quicker, making this boss fight really, really roll. She's amazing on any boss. Any boss. She does so much more than just boost their energy. We might actually take a little bit of a dive into her here shortly because she can change boss fights if I have enough support. And if I don't like the outcome, again, like right there, I can stop, exit the battle, redo it. But this is just an exercise anyway. It's not going to hurt us. We're going to get through it, but we would not get the golden. I think you have to be above 50% health. So yeah, everybody has to be nobody less than 50% health. So in this case, the only issue we have is not enough support, which is an easy fix. Bring a true healer instead of either my Haste or my Cynthia. They're both kind of playing the same role, so there's a lot of options on speeding up your team. Harry is amazing at it. Fi is amazing at it. Cynthia is amazing at it. And then bring your favorite healer, your 2 or 3 favorite DPSers. You're going to do good on these bosses. And as you level up, you're going to be stronger every time. Always do your gear check. Matter of fact, that's what this is all about. I keep going there. That's what this is all about, is getting new gear and then gear checking yourself. So if I'm looking for more agility, I'm going to use my free rolls and then just go through and even if you just go do the quick gear upgrade, because in the middle of progression, like I said in a previous video, don't worry too much about gear. Not right now. So you can come in here, improve the gear of your main heroes, and just like that, make them that much better, and then try again. So the boss fights are actually kind of simplistic, but it kind of gives you an idea of the kind of heroes you want to be bringing up. And as long as your 5 heroes are staying at certain increments so that everybody on your squad grows, you have lots of options of rotating in and out heroes. I hope this helps. For where I'm at right now, that is definitely the formula getting me through all my bosses. And the damage dealers, they don't have to be any of the 3 I'm using. Though Goat Girl is amazing and she's so easy to come by, she should be one of your focuses. But everybody else, whoever you've been working on that you like for damage, maybe Wyndham or somebody else, bring them in, do amazing damage, and hopefully you succeed enough to get those better rewards from your bosses. Until next time, enjoy the grind.